I will rise, I will grow. I will climb to the place I belong. I will fight like the world's never known. Like the world's never known.
Hello, and welcome to the Wedding Mavericks podcast. This is the start of season 2. So this is episode 1, season 2, Wedding Mavericks podcast. Previously, quite a long time ago now, it was we're now at the start of 2022, and it was the start of 21 when the other series of the podcast was happening. So it's taken a whole year to get recording again. So just before we kind of go into the proper intro, I just want to explain that the podcast is going to be slightly different now. So last time, the previous series, I was talking to different wedding professionals, people in the wedding industry, about their experiences and their stories of how they kind of got into the wedding industry and then progressing through the wedding industry and all the sort of things they'd experienced and learned, which was great. It was great talking to those people, some amazing sort of business knowledge, insight that came out of those conversations. They were really great. From my perspective, I learned a lot from listening to the experiences of others. I hope you did too. If you listened to those, if you didn't listen to those at the time, then please have a listen. Go back and look at some of those, even the ones that might not feel relevant to what you do. Very, useful to hear other people's experiences, even if they weren't. Even if they don't offer a service that you think would be relevant to you, just their experiences of business and how they've done marketing, how they've sort of, created client experiences and things like that. The stories of how they got into business, absolutely brilliant and inspirational. So the reason it's going to be a little bit different, this second series, is because we want to focus down more towards helping wedding photographers and videographers, as well as like other wedding creatives. There will be stuff that's relevant to other creatives, but specifically for photographers and videographers, because that's what we do. And we feel like, we can be quite specific about things we discuss because of our own experiences. So I'm now going to introduce Lindsay.
Hi there.
So this is my wife and business partner, and best mate. Wears many hats. And we, as well as being married, we run our business together. We both do wedding videography and photography. Sometimes that's separately. Sometimes we'll shoot jobs by ourselves. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time it's together. We've got a really good collaboration going on wedding days. And I know that there are a lot of sort of partner teams, husband and wife teams, partner teams out there. And so there's an aspect of, hopefully, listening to that or watching that, you'll find that relevant, because we might talk about things to do with that. But also, I think we've got different skill sets and different strengths. So we complement each other well. Mm-hmm. And in terms of this podcast and in terms of the things we're going to talk about on the podcast, I think that we've got sort of things that we are more specialised in than others, and we can complement each other when discussing things on here. So as well as listening to it on a podcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts, we are going to be recording these on video as well. So you can find that on YouTube, and there will be some short form content that we're putting out on social media from these episodes. So please, if you're interested in watching rather than listening, obviously do both if you want. That's great. But you can find us on the YouTube channel. So moving forwards, we're going to be talking to start with. There are going to be topics that we'll talk about to do with creative aspects of being a wedding photographer and videographer. There'll also be aspects to, that we'll talk about technical stuff to do with using equipment and getting results and things like that. But because it's the sort of out of season, it's the quieter part of the year from a wedding perspective. Yeah. It's usually the time that people are going to be working on their businesses.
That's right.
So we wanted to, because like it or not, a much bigger part than shooting and editing of running your wedding business and being successful at it is the business aspect.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we want to talk about business topics for the next few weeks, because if you aren't already thinking about those things, you should be. This is the time to do it. And by putting some time and investing time into that and getting organised and being more intentional and specific about what you're doing with your wedding business, your photography, videography business, you're going to find that you have, a more successful year and subsequent years, from a business perspective. And that's the thing, isn't it? Like, we are doing this because we make a living from it. And if you're not able to make a good living from it, you're not able to sustain a good living from it, then, you're just doing it because it's something you enjoy. And if you want it to be a full-time job, if you want it to make money and have a good standard of living, then, you really need to be kind of good at the business aspect.
Absolutely, yeah. And you don't get weddings. You don't generate, weddings and start those relationships with your clients unless you've done the legwork in the background first.
Exactly. So hopefully by the stuff that we're going to talk about, it's going to give you some extra insight, knowledge, maybe just refresh things that you already know. The idea is we're going to be doing this in a really kind of raw and honest, genuine, authentic way, where we're just going to be talking about our experiences, but also things we've learned along the way, mistakes we've made.
Yeah.
I hope that when you're listening or watching this, you're thinking, well, there's no facade here. And that's what we want it to be like, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We're not going to bullshit you. This is, if you're listening or watching this, you're here because you want to get better. And so do we. And so, the stuff we're talking about is things that we might be thinking about, things that we've learned. Hopefully it helps.
Yeah.
So, today we're going to be talking about, if you think about the next few weeks, it's going to be kind of a progression of things that we're going to need to look at in our business, and hopefully it's going to be in kind of an order of how you're going to do it. So today we're talking about setting goals, because without setting any goals, without having a sort of something to aim for, you don't really know where you're heading or why you're going there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no intentional kind of direction there for you. So if you've got targets, if you've got goals, in whatever means they kind of come, by whatever sort of time constraints you've put around that, you've an idea of where you're going to be heading. Yeah.
So it might be you might think it's a bit of a boring thing to talk about. Excuse me, but I think, we all have like a goal in the back of his head, maybe. We just might not structure them. We might have like kind of a wish list, but not this is exactly what I'm planning to do, whether it's this week, this month, this year, this decade, with my life in general. Who knows? So goal setting, I mean, let's just talk about how our last year was. Linz, did we set any goals?
Gosh, no, we didn't. I think keep us head above water, kind of survival was the aim of the game. But in terms of sort of anything, like you mentioned, anything structured, any real sort of kind of deep thought, I think, other than kind of firefighting what was in front of us, no, there was no set structure or goal setting for our business.
And prior to that, when we started our business, we had completely different careers before that, and we decided to to study and do a degree while we were starting our business. We'll go into that in another episode, I think. I don't think we need to go into that now. But because of that, for that 3 years, our goals were, you know, we didn't necessarily go through this process, but we did have quite specific goals because they were mapped out for us in terms of we needed to follow the process of like hopefully getting our degrees. Got a young family, so we were looking after them. And the business, because it was completely new, I think at the time, and it wasn't, we weren't even 100% sure, were we, where that would go.
No.
It was like we started a business with a bit of it'd be nice if this worked out, but we didn't really say we need it to do this, because we were kind of splitting our time between studies. You know, at the time when we first started, you still were working in our old career, and then now, and then sort of as we moved on and things sort of progressed, it just happened organically. Yeah, we didn't really need to or want to set goals to do with the work, but we had some basic.
That's right. Yeah.
Ideas of what we wanted to
basic
achieve.
Ideas, and I think one of the fantastic things about wedding film and photography is that you're looking at events that are not happening in the short term for the most part. You might get last minute bookings, but you are looking at things that are planned for in the future. And so what we could see, whilst you're right, you had left previous work, I was still in there, but what we could kind of get a feel for was the fact that there was going to be this period, because in the future we could see how many wedding bookings, how many clients we had. We could kind of see that there was going to be this point of me transitioning.
Yeah, so like a tipping point.
Absolutely, yeah. There was going to be a point where I would need to come away from that and be fully kind of immersed and committed to the business then, in order for us to kind of, because I think it took us by surprise how we were able to.
How well it was going.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't think either of us sort of expected that, which I feel is why we didn't structure those goals, why we didn't set those targets to achieve, because there was certainly an element of kind of going with the flow, and then the momentum built. Yeah. And so it was just kind of day to day thinking, well, okay, that's what's coming kind of down the line. Let's just make sure that we're in the best position possible to kind of deliver for those people that have kind of put the trust in us. Let's make sure that we're equipped to deliver on that.
And I think it was only when we got to basically when we were finishing our degrees, and it was that year we were finishing our degrees, 2020, when COVID hit. So I think we were just getting to the point, weren't we, where we were starting to making goals, having structured plans in place to kind of move forward and achieve that. That's when it was becoming relevant to us.
That's right.
And then COVID hits.
Yeah.
And so we literally had to like tear everything up, all the kind of general plans that we'd made, we had to tear them up, and we had to start again, didn't we?
Yeah, because the goal, or a goal that quickly came into focus for us, was kind of damage control, damage limitation.
And survival.
Survival, absolutely.
Yeah. So 2021, you know, we've lived with COVID for 12 months. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, things look like they're going to start opening back up.
Yeah.
Crazy. You know, it could have gone either way. And we didn't really know. So we didn't make any plans. And how do you think we've ended up feeling over the course of particularly the last half of 2021 up to kind of now? You know, it's not been ideal, has it?
No, I think I want to say to a degree not having the right focus.
Yeah.
Primarily because as part of, I guess because it was all unknown, part of what I'd done in that period of time that we were all trying to either just, we were all trying to make decisions about, would this business survive? What's the next step? And I say we collectively, so between ourselves, no doubt that you guys went through that also. So I'd done a bit of further study. I went and did teacher training. And so that was quite sort of labour intensive in terms of I was now all of a sudden out of the house Monday to Friday, away first thing in the morning before the kids went to school, back at tea time, which left Jules to kind of hold the fort, not just with the business, but in terms of our day-to-day lives as well. And so in terms of focus on the business, and any kind of strategy or thinking about, okay, what are the next steps and the next steps, what's important to us here. So certainly a lack of focus from my perspective.
And generally, like, you know, it was just a case of kind of through 2020, 2021, dealing with whatever had happened. So it was kind of like we just had to react, and you went to do that because that looked like that was the best option for us to make sure we could, you know, pay the bills. And the business kind of came secondary. But obviously things open back up. You're now teaching the kids. I'm trying to sort of like do the lion's share with the kids, whilst all of a sudden all these postponements of and bookings come alive in the back end of 2021. I end up with so much work, and we're trying to manage it between us, juggling too many things. It was
like a year's worth of weddings were all of a sudden condensed into, it's not even 6 months, is it? Because I remember kind of the start of July here in the UK being the time when things kind of
it was like 5 or 6 months, wasn't it? But it was like a whole year's worth, but maybe like 2 years. And I imagine, you know, you listening to this probably feeling like that's exactly what happened for you too. I think we were all in the same boat. And I know that, you know, towards the end of 2021, busting his asses, I'm still feeling quite unmotivated really and unfocused because there's no goals. It was just keep going. Yeah. So, and you can only do that in short bursts. And the idea, what we're coming on to is the idea of making these, let's not have another 2021. Yeah. Let's make 2022, 2023 and beyond. Let's make that different. Yeah. Let's do that properly.
Take back the control.
Yes.
Of it. Yeah. So I think hopefully, touch wood, it's as far as COVID and things happening in that external environment, hopefully the worst of that is past now, and it does feel like this is the right time for us to be able to kind of retake control of.
Yeah, it's still going to be up and down with that, but we're definitely in a situation where hopefully, you know, making plans, hopefully be able to work towards those plans more realistically now. So, you know, when we're talking about things that, how is going to having goals and having something to aim for, how is that going to make us feel? Why is it so important that we actually do this process, what we're doing now?
Well, just to add on, so if we're taking back control of things, that provides you with a focus for me, which in turn, in my mind, if I understand what the focus is for, be it 3, 6, 12 months time, or let's call it short, medium, long term, if I understand what our focus is, or our goals and targets, that's going to motivate me, and that's going to make me accountable. In terms of the business and in terms of our clients. So for me, that's those are the biggest things that I'm looking forward to, feeling and benefiting from, by the fact that we're actually going to do this. We're going to sit down and structure some goals and targets. For the year ahead.
And like, you know me, I've always got ideas. I'm always like, things just popping in my head. I want to have a go at this, and I can get quite distracted by all of the different exciting things that I'd like to do, like this podcast, for instance. So, you know, and sometimes you can just end up feeling like you don't know where to start, and you procrastinate, and I can never say that word. So, you know, we want goals to work towards, so that we're very clear about what we're trying to achieve. So we're actually going to do that process now. We're going to go through, we're just going to briefly explain the process and the format of how we're going to formulate those goals and how we're going to create some action plans from those goals. And hopefully by doing this process and sharing that process with you, that you'll be able to learn how you might want to do this. And there'll be this template that we're going to use. We'll make that available so that you can download that, although it'll take you 2 seconds to just make one yourself, or you can scribble it on a piece of paper, but that's just there in case you want it. It's a very simple little table to use. So to start with, we're going to just go through like what is a goal and what is taking action, and we're just going to very briefly go through those definitions just so that we know we're on the same page as in what we're thinking. So a goal is the object, and I'm reading this out, is a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. So, I mean, that speaks for itself. We've got something we want to do, and there's a result at the end of it, and that's what a goal is, right? And then taking action is doing something official or concerted to achieve an aim or deal with a problem. Now, when we say a problem, that problem doesn't have to literally be like a negative thing.
No.
But everything's kind of a problem, isn't it? You know, everything's kind of a little thing that we need to solve. How we're going to get to that place. And we do that by taking action. And normally that's in a set of steps. Yeah. You know, it could be a very simple set of steps, like washing the dishes, you know, run the bowl of water, put the soap in, you know, get your hands in there. But, you know, some problems are a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
Some require a bit more planning.
Yeah.
That's why we're going to create these action plans. So, you know, everything we do, we're going to be having an aim and an objective, and we're going to be taking action to achieve that, whatever it is in life. So we're now going to sort of explain a bit more about an action plan, because a lot of things that we do in life we don't sit down and write out a list of what we're going to do. We just do things. And that's okay if they are general tasks, like, you know, picking the kids up from school or getting the washing done or whatever. But, you know, because this is our business, and because we're dealing with other people, you might have more than one. You might be a one-person business, or you might be like me and Lindsay that work together. You might have a team of people. It's definitely, if you've got a team of people, it's definitely really important that you do this. Absolutely. So that everyone knows, don't they? Yeah. So do you want to just go through roughly like what we're talking about when we're referring to an action plan?
Yeah, so an action plan, it might be something that some of you are familiar with, others it might be less so. It feels like it's something that's certainly something that we are really familiar with from a previous career, having gone into education again in the last couple of years, and then the teacher training as well. And an action plan really is just nothing more than a sequence of steps that are going to be taken in order for you to be able to achieve your goal or your target. You see it in sort of quite strategic and sort of formal settings within medium, larger size businesses, within education, as I've mentioned, but also certainly within the teaching environment, within the sports world. You know, you can see action plans that are set for individuals, for teams, for organisations. So really, Julian's talked about a template that we're going to share with you, and in its own right, it's something really that can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. For us, absolutely, the more simple and straightforward, the better, because for me, it's just far more relatable then. If we start throwing in lots of strategic, lots of business terminology, even though in some respects, because my degree was in business, I've just done a teaching qualification in teaching business in the high school and secondary school. So a lot of that I'm familiar with. However, when it comes to me and my own business, simplicity works for me. Yeah. Okay. So it's taking that understanding maybe from other facets of the world, other areas of the world, and just being able to apply that to what's relevant to us. And I talked before about having a goal. It's something that's going to motivate me, and it's going to make me accountable as well. So that's what I want to be reflected in the way that I design my action plan. Perfect.
So a couple of caveats before we go into, the actual action planning. Goals can be revisited and revised. So, don't worry. You don't have to set a goal for yourself and then be like, I'm not achieving it. Or I'm not going to achieve it. We're not creating something to punish yourself with and to make you feel bad. It's supposed to be a motivator. It's supposed to be something that's pushing you and pulling you towards something, not something that's beating you and making you feel negative. So, if at some point it feels like circumstances have changed, life changes, your business changes, we can revisit and revise those goals. And also we want to try and make goals that we've got more control over. We're not handing that control over to a third party. So for example, if you said, I wanted to win an award and that's my goal, this particular award in, the wedding industry or to do with your photography or your filmmaking, you want to enter an award and win it. That's not the best type of goal to set, because we might not have the control to actually win that. Even if you do everything that you possibly can to be amazing and you deserve to win it, and even if you look at, if you can objectively look at what you produced and what other people produce, or what business you have, what other people's businesses are, and you think, I deserve to win that, it doesn't necessarily mean you will win it, because it's going to be judged by somebody else. And so having an external control over that is not a good thing to kind of set your goals with. Yeah. What we want to set out is what we will achieve, how we will achieve it, why am I achieving it, and when will I achieve it by. And that's the very simple sort of thing that we're trying to do here. We were going to go into smart action plans. So smart action plans we'll explain in a second, but I think it might be relevant to just go through a little bit of what our goals are. Yeah. Yeah. So they were written down. I don't know where they've gone now. Just there, look. So we've both made separate lists, but I'm just going to give you a few examples of mine. I'm not going to kind of go into loads of detail. Now, this is on like a bit of paper, a bit of note paper. You could type these out. You could put them on a whiteboard. You could write them out on a big bit of paper, stick them on the wall, so that you can see your goals. It's kind of like that's a help thing to help you motivate you. Just for the purpose of this, I've just written it on this bit of paper. We're going to keep hold of these and file these with the action plans. To be fair, it's the action plans that are the main thing that we want to be able to refer to, because that's what's going to keep us accountable. These are just kind of like listing my goals. So they can be personal, they can be business related. You shouldn't sort of confine yourself to only making goals to do with your business, because for us, I would say our personal life and business, we are doing this business. We want to be successful in this business because it gives us the freedom to have the life that we want. Absolutely, yeah. So definitely personal goals, are important to have in there as well. So I'll give you some examples. So lose weight, get in shape before I'm 40. So I'm 40 this year. And to me, that's that's a really important goal for me. Going back before I started the business, I was in good shape. I'd say definitely having your own business, although you would think it would lend itself time to exercise and things, because I just never stopped working, I feel like I've really neglected that part. Truth. And it's very easy to sort of sit there on an evening while you're working with a glass of wine and some chocolate. So need to stop that. So that's a goal. And when we come on to the action plans, you'll see that if I was going to make that a goal that I wanted to do something about, and I was going to set out a particular strategy to achieve that goal, that I'd do that using the smart action plan. I'm not going to use that as one of my examples, but that's just to explain. Have the house and garden sorted out. That's quite a wide goal, but I can be quite specific about that, so it is kind of a good one to have. Spend more time with Lindsay. So we need to have more date nights and stuff, don't we? We really need to sort of start factoring that in. When you have kids, if you haven't got kids already, crikey, you've got to make the most of that time, because things change. Do more stuff and give the kids more experiences. So, again, I've listed all the personal ones first, because actually the personal ones are the most important to me. Yeah. And the business ones are hopefully what's going to give me the time and the flexibility to be able to do those ones. So if we make enough money and we get enough time back from the business, then we'll be able to have more experiences with the kids.
Yeah.
Do fewer jobs, have a better work-life balance. Increase commercial work to know kind of what's coming in and shoot more in the week. So that's basically the goal there, is to start doing fewer weddings so that we can not have to work all the weekends, so we can spend more time together with the kids.
Yeah, because that was a huge part of, sorry, just to interrupt you.
That's all right.
That was a huge part of leaving our previous careers,
Yes.
because we worked for an emergency service, we worked shifts, and we were searching for that thing that was going to give us the right balance between working hard, absolutely, but like you've said, providing enough of a livelihood there that we get instead of the balance being tipped in the direction of more time spent at work, less time with the kids, less time to be able to enjoy these experiences and try new things. We wanted to kind of tip it in the other direction, didn't we? So that's what we're aiming for. And having done a few years now of the weddings,
we haven't managed it yet, have we?
We haven't quite we haven't managed it yet. Certainly being able to do the school run is each day is fantastic, because you never get that time back. But to the same end, weddings, as you will know, for the most part, tend to be at weekends. So there's an impact there on the kids with not having us around. Julian's mum, our saviour, bless her heart, she's the one that normally looks after the kids for us. So absolutely shifting the focus there towards doing things that mean that we can work during the week on projects and less so at the weekend in time is definitely a goal for us for the future. Yeah.
On the subject of time, another one is improve my time management, something that we've both always been useless at, haven't we? But, seriously, you can do things, you can put things in place to make sure you're on time. We've got all this technology, what smart watches and phones and everything. There's got to be ways that you can, encourage yourself to be on time. More kind of video photo related, improve colour and aesthetics of photos and films, and be kind of settled and happy with it. Because I think one of the things that's very popular, I don't know if popular is the right word, but common amongst photographers and filmmakers is that they're always kind of like tweaking stuff and never quite, a lot of people I speak to, never quite happy 100% with how something looks. And so that's a big one for me. Improve Instagram presence and reach, reignite and align the brand, and improve and redesign the website. I want to write some scripts, so like film type scripts, but that's kind of work / personal, and create more like music oriented projects, like music videos. So this is obviously coming away from like wedding related stuff now, and be more creative at weddings, like sort of trying to push the images that we produce and the edits that we create, because I feel like we went through a period of doing that, and then this last year has been so busy. It's been very much a case of trying to get things, trying to keep things successful and straightforward, rather than really kind of pushing things, boundaries and things like that. So they're just some examples of those. So how are we going to implement them, Lindsay?
So we're going to implement those, and we have just a few specimens just to share with you today that we've completed. We're going to use what's called the Smart Action Plan. Okay, so as Jules mentioned, simple template that we'll make available for you to be able to download, but you can most certainly access those yourself. Some of you might be familiar with these previously. So in its own right, the SMART, each letter stands for something. What I will say about the template that you will see from us and from what Jules has gone through is that with the middle three there, so with your S it's specific, then traditionally you have measurable for your M, achievable, relevant, and then time bound. But with those middle three there, Jules has just made a slight adaptation to those, a slight amendment to kind of make them feel like they really are specific to us.
Yeah,
okay,
to us and relevant to kind of the wedding industry.
Absolutely, yeah. So in terms of specific, I'll just touch on that one first of all before Jules goes through the middle ones with you.
Yeah.
Just in terms of specificness, that's just about the goal in itself. You know, what is the thing that you want to achieve here? If it's not quite simple, you know, quite sort of simple and straightforward in a few words. So for us, for instance, we have one based around revenue versus number of weddings. That's as specific as we needed to be on that because we understand what that's about, and then we go further into that with the rest of them. However, for you, if being that brief doesn't quite cover what it is, then it's your action plan at the end of the day. You know, you explain that in as much detail as you need to. Because what we really want you to be able to take note of here or to make clear here is what the goal is, but why is that important to you? Why is that important to your business?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so with for instance, the revenue versus number of weddings, you could do 2 action plans for that. But this one, we're tying this in together. Now, we're not going to go through this one, the revenue versus number of weddings, and the reason is because we're going to do a subsequent podcast where we're talking about that in more detail, because that is such a huge topic and it ties into, you know, the revenue that you're going to generate in your business and the amount of work that you're going to do to generate that revenue is a very key aspect of forward planning. So off the back of this podcast, we're going to do another one where we're going to like quite a bit of detail about revenue, number of weddings, but also pricing. Yeah. Because pricing should be built on what it is you're trying to achieve. If you just kind of like, and I'll go into more detail in the future, but if you're just sort of pricing jobs, pricing your work based on what you think people will pay or what you are looking at other people are charging, but you're not thinking about what it is that you're trying to achieve, how much money you're trying to generate, because that's what you need to live and you need to run your business, then you're not going to meet a goal. You're just going to be following what everybody else is doing. And so that's why that's important. So the second part, we've had specific, and then we've got measurable. So measurable and motivation is what I've put. So we want to know what's going to be achieved. So the specifics of, if we're saying we're going to do something, we've got a goal of doing something, we want to know the specifics of what exactly it is you're going to achieve. So if it's to do with revenue, it's what that figure is, how much money, how many weddings, right? That's your specific, and you want to kind of know that, because that's your motivation that you're aiming for. That's your target. Yeah. The achievable bit. So A for achievable and action. Well, these are the steps that you're actually going to take to meet the target, to get to the end result. So we'll give you some examples so that you can see that in a minute. But you could just do bullet points for these.
Absolutely.
That's what I would suggest anyway.
Yeah.
You just bullet point down step 1, step 2, step 3. It can be as simple or detailed as you want it to be. If you need it to be like details, you need to be, it needs to be, I need to create whatever it is, but you actually have to put the steps in that you're going to do to create that. And then that's like one, these could be huge plans, but what we would suggest and what we've done is just kind of have simple bullet points, which we'll show you examples of in a second. The R, so SMA, R is relevant and right. So the reason I've put right is because you need to think about what might happen as a consequence of you trying to achieve this goal. So what we need to actually say is, why does this matter? So it's relevant because there's going to be an outcome. There's a reason for doing it. That's kind of, explains the goal a little bit more. And then the right bit is sort of how you're going to offset, or how you're going to allow for, any sort of thing that might come out of that. And it'll make more sense when we go through it in a second. And then the last one, Lynn's what?
Yeah, so your T is all about the timescales that you're going to set. Your SMART action plan. So the individual goals and targets that you set should be time bound. Okay, so I've talked about short, medium, long term before, and you should consider that when you're thinking about what sort of timescales in which you want to achieve your goals. Please also consider, and I think it's often forgotten about because sometimes people just see the time bound or time scale and they think, right, okay, yep, 3 months, no problem, that's it, come back to it then. Well, what if you forget about that? As part and parcel of thinking about your timescales, you must be thinking about a period of review.
Yeah.
And how you can kind of track your progress. Particularly, let's take, for example, you're going to set yourself an action plan which covers a goal of yours that's 12 months, that's to cover the whole year. Well, are you going to wait until month 12?
You need to know you're on track.
To have a look at that, you need to know that you're on track. So it's really, really important. And don't forget, in as much as there are times where we're sometimes kind of trying to sort of mitigate obstacles that might come in our way, don't forget that, we enjoy success as well.
Yeah.
Take confidence from that. We enjoy success. And so it could be that you've set yourself a time scale of 12 months in which to be able to achieve something. So let's say social media platforms, you wanting to be able to look at how you can improve your engagement, but also maybe your lead conversion from that.
Are you stealing my example?
I'm certain, maybe I've glanced down a little bit. So let's just say that you look back at your stats, you look at previously what your conversion rate was from the leads that came through, and maybe you just want to aim to increase that. So last year, let's say there was a 10% success rate, hypothetically. This year, you want to push 15. Well, let's say you've set that for the course of 12 months. 6 months into that, you're already at 15, 16%. So what do? Do you put your feet up? Do you think, great, tick that one off the list. I've achieved that goal. Fantastic. I need to do nothing more now. I've got 6 months to play with here. Absolutely not. I can't imagine that there are any of you out there that are running your own business, albeit whether you're coming from previous experience or not. I can't imagine for a second that would be what you would do. So as part of tracking your progress, please consider a period of review and consider what would you do should you achieve your goals a lot sooner than what you originally forecast. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So off the back of that, as Lindsay's already mentioned about the social media one, so this is the Smart Action Plan template. So you'll be able to look at this and download it if you want, but you can make your own quite easily. So improve Instagram presence and growth. This is one of the ones that I've just done. So this is one of ours for the business. So improve Instagram presence and growth. I mean, it speaks for itself, but then I've put something that's a bit more specific, which is I've put a high number of clients acquired from Instagram, so it makes sense to increase this. So I've checked just earlier on, in our CRM, it measures where the leads have come from, and it's 43.2%. It's the highest at the moment. So in the last since the start of our financial year, which is September, so last year, 43.2% of our inquiries have come from Instagram. And I think it wasn't like that before.
No.
And I think the next highest one was a 20-something% from Google.
Okay.
So our SEO's been decent for the last few years. I'd say it's dropped a little bit during the pandemic. But most of our inquiries I know used to come from Google, and now most of them, a huge proportion, come from Instagram. So it makes sense that we're going to kind of focus some energy there. So that's the goal. So that's the specific part. The measurable motivation part of it is to improve engagement on platform, generally to raise a profile. So that's very broad. So I'm going to go kind of into that a little bit more. Increase leads from Instagram to 50% of the inquiries. So we're at 43.2. So if we can try and increase that up to 50%, and I'll explain why in a second, and increase followers to at least 2,200 by the end of 2022. Now, for some of you, you might have thousands and thousands of Instagram followers. So me saying increase that to 2,200 is not a lot. The reason I picked that is because it's 2022, and that's an increase. It's an increase of a few hundred. We're in the late 1,000s, 1900 at the moment. So it's a few hundred. So it's realistic to, by the end of this year, to have increased it by a few hundred inquiries, especially if we're going to put some effort in. And the thing is previously we didn't spend a lot of time on Instagram.
No.
And I think that's a mistake we should have done.
Yeah.
But we had really good sort of results from Google searching organically without paying for it. And I think earlier on we did spend a lot of time on Facebook, and we had some good success organically on Facebook, and then we used Facebook ads. And now started to kind of not put money onto Facebook ads, but to put them on Instagram ads, and that the success from that is phenomenal. So that seems to me like where we should be. So organically and paid ads is where we should put our time in terms of like acquiring clients. So the action, achievable. How are we going to achieve this? What's the action we're going to take? Again, simple bullet points. So regular feed posts, one per day or one every other day. We'll kind of work on that. What's gonna work best? Regular stories and reels. So, as well as kind of posting stuff about weddings and behind the scenes bits at weddings, also kind of general personal stuff. We do that, but I think it's so sporadic, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't do it regularly. We don't do it intentionally. It's just all over the place.
No, because I think we've not had the clear direction with it. We never set it as a goal previously.
No.
So it was just kind of subconsciously thinking, we need to post something. We need to try and generate some engagement.
Something we thought we were supposed to be doing because that's what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
It's never been like we're going to do this because this is part of the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And run regular targeted ads. Now, some people might not spend money on marketing. But what I'll say is if you want your business to grow and you want to be a success, now, yes, some people will organically have great reach and they'll have great results, but you can't just rely on that because they change the algorithm all the time. And I think that if you're not putting some money away for some sort of paid marketing as part of your business strategy, part of your marketing strategy, I think that's a mistake. I think everybody, no matter what stage your business is at, you should be putting a bit of money aside for marketing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So running targeted ads as well as trying to engage organically and build that up is really important. And that's basically the 3 steps. But the caveat of the 3 steps there is that we're going to do that in a planned way.
Yeah.
So we're going to plan it in advance so that we know what we're going to post, because what's happened in the past and the reason we haven't been consistent with it is because it always comes down to we need to post something and we haven't got things prepared and we've got other jobs going on, we've got other tasks that we're trying to complete and we don't. So we need to put time aside to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And be consistent about when we're posting and things.
And it needs to kind of be built into the when we're delivering to clients, the final product that's delivered to clients as part and parcel. And I know this is something that in the background you've started to do, is to consider, well, what will I want to use? What elements from these films, these photographs, what things do I want to be able to use? What things do I want to be able to use for sort of marketing purposes later down the line? And consider that, so that becomes part of it just a
part
workflow as well. So that it's stacked up, it's ready there for you.
Yeah,
to
and I think that's what we have done, and I have done that alongside the editing process. But I'll be honest, where it's fallen down in the past is actually them posting it and executing it and using it. I've got so much content that I've just never used, and that's because I haven't had it's not been planned out. And so I haven't been sitting down and going, right, this is when we're going to post this, and it never gets used. So we'll move on to relevant and right. So a key part of the strategy for acquiring new clients and who are targeted. So basically, the reason it's relevant, Instagram, is because couples, as opposed to kind of other forms of marketing, these couples are looking for someone to do something for their wedding. Mm-hmm. So it's visual. Yeah. So you're immediately capturing someone's attention who's looking for somebody to do that thing. That's why Instagram's so important from a marketing perspective for wedding suppliers. You know, whether you're a photographer or videographer, or whether you do cakes or flowers, you know, if they see your cake, they see your floral arrangements visually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's what I want. Yeah. So if they see your photo and they see your video, that's what I want. Mm-hmm. So you've got them, and that's why Instagram's so, you know, so
that's the shop window, isn't it?
It's the shop window. Yeah, literally
for creatives in the wedding industry. You know, unless we were all side by side in different shops down the high street, and those clients that come walking down the street and say, "Oh, right, yeah, looking at the cakes there, looking at the flowers, dresses, film, photograph."
Yeah.
We don't have that. That's not how we operate.
Yeah. So even if you've struggled, like we haven't spent in as much time as we should have on Instagram over the past couple of years. Some people have been brilliant at it, and it's not been our strength. You know, we can't resist that. You know, this is what I would call one of our weaknesses, really. Yeah. You know, we're getting a bit better at it now, but in the last sort of couple of years, we've not been great. So this is why it's so important. It's a weakness. We've got to improve it. Because it is just, you know, it's so important, like you say, the shop front. And it shows as well that we're maintaining those different pathways for us to acquire clients. So we've had great success with Google before, but we can't guarantee that we'll always have great success with Google. We've had great success with, you know, other suppliers recommending us and referrals from past couples and things. We can't just go on those things. We have to have all the different channels. Absolutely. We're going to go into that in more detail in another podcast. How are we going to sort of get there and mitigate this? We've got to plan in advance so that it doesn't become a distraction to other work or a stress. Got to allocate time to do this and to post it. Maybe like, you know, having a specific time of the day where we do that. And maybe as well allocating a budget to be able to run the ads. Yeah. So it's not like just something. We need to make sure we've put the money, we've got the money aside, we've assigned that money to run the ads on there. And we're going to kind of review it as we go along and see where we are throughout 2022. And at the end of the year, hopefully that's where we can see that we've increased our engagement. We've reached that target of 2,200 followers. And then we can set a new one next year. This is probably going to be a part of the strategy for the medium term, maybe the long term. Absolutely,
yeah. And it could, of course, right now, it's about our Instagram engagement and our reach on there. That could change in time. It could be that viewers, listeners, you know, there are other platforms, as you mentioned, you know, there have been other strategies that have worked for us in terms of how we've wanted to kind of invest in our marketing. And it could be that there are different platforms for you, but that just for us, that's what we're focusing on this year. Yeah. Another one of the key targets that we're setting ourselves for this year, key goal that we've put in a smart action plan, is all around our branding and our website, and it's about refreshing that. Yeah. Now, we'll hold our hands up and say our website has pretty much been as it is, but putting a few new pieces of work on there from different films and photographs that we've taken. The styling of the website, the copy that's on there has pretty much been what it has been for the last 2 years. Yeah. And, you know, if you think of, I said a few moments ago about Instagram, that's your shop window. So if you take that a step further, then your website is your whole store. Yeah. Okay? The Instagram is what's going to get people, it's what's going to entice people. That's what's going to hopefully spark people's interest to want to take a deeper look, to want to take more of a look. Isn't it? Like a little passing by. Yeah, absolutely. And we cannot impress upon you enough how important your branding and website and the consistency between the two, how important they are, but also that the website is going to add that kind of snippet, that little carrot that you've dangled for people to kind of entice them in. That needs to let the clients know, not just give them examples of work, not just let them have a little bit of a more in-depth look at the types of weddings that you've shot, the different sorts of client types that you've worked with, but also it's how they're going to connect with you.
Yeah.
It's where they're going to find out more about you. And just by its very nature, the type of branding that you use, the website that you use, its functionality. Is this something that's just going to work for people when they're using a laptop or a computer? Or is this something that's mobile friendly as well? All of these things in the background are so important for being able to take it from a little bit of interest, seen at the shop window, but what are you going to do to bring those customers into your store and then begin to build a relationship there and hopefully become a client of yours.
Yeah. And so that's why we've done an action plan for refreshing our branding and kind of redeveloping our website. And we're not going to do that ourselves. We currently do have a Wix website, okay? And it's worked okay for the last since we started our business. But because I've had other websites developed professionally and used branding people to do stuff for me, I know how important it is. And the people that we've been working with for the last couple of years is Divine Studios. So Divine Studios are a creative agency based in the heart of Leeds, and they're helping businesses develop brand identities and web experiences. And I can't, Lindsay's obviously explained that, but I can't impress upon you enough how important it is to consider using a professional to look at your branding, to help you develop something that really reflects, and branding such a huge aspect of your business. It isn't just a logo, it's what you are as a business and how you're communicating that to people through your entire, everything you do on and offline. And your web experience that you're going to provide for your customers is like, if they were coming to your shop, well, have you ever walked into a shop and the automatic doors don't open quick enough and you feel like a right numpty because you nearly walk into, I can't believe I used the word numpty. That's a blast from the past. But, you nearly walk into those doors and that's a negative experience, What about if you're queuing at the checkout and, you're in a massive line and it takes you like 10 minutes to go and pay for, the bottle of wine you've got? It's not a good experience. And, what if you can't find the product that you're looking for in the store? It's all these things are just reasons not to go back there or not to buy from that shop. And this is why having your website developed professionally is so important. And we're in the process of going through a rebrand and redevelopment of the website, having it done properly and professionally by Divine Studios. And we're going to be going through, the process that they go through is really, really detailed. It makes sure that you're creating something that truly reflects your business and targets the customers, the clients that you're going to want to work with. And, if you're looking for somebody to help you rebrand, redevelop things, you should contact Divine Studios. And if you mention Wedding Mavericks, you'll get a 10% discount on their services. Thanks to Divine Studios for sponsoring the podcast. So, we could go through a bunch more smart action plans. Somehow we've managed to rattle on for an hour again. A couple that we'd written out were improved processes and workflows, which is something you should be looking at. in your own business and further develop the aesthetics of photos and films. We're not going to go through them in loads of detail, but if you do want some more examples or you want to discuss kind of how you can write your own action plans, I'd suggest that you contact us. You can email us or drop us a DM in social media platforms. We can sort of arrange a discussion so that we can help you with your own goal setting and action plans. But it's something that's just so important. Like, you know, this process, not only is it useful because it's going to help you, but it's also good for you to kind of give you a point to aim for. Really good for. I feel like after we've done this process, I feel much more motivated. I don't know.
Definitely, because I think it's so easy for the days to kind of just consist of just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'll do a bit of this, or I'll remember send this email, and there's just such a lack of focus. There's only so many hours in the day, and so if you're trying to just do a little bit of everything, you're perhaps not making as much progress as what you could within certain time parameters. Sorry. Yeah. Whereas this was really good to sit down and do this together, and quite certainly, you know, for me, the one that you mentioned about improving the processes and workflows there, you know, there's a big kind of personal element to that one for me, because I have a lot of sort of knowledge and understanding that I want to be able to develop when it comes to the files that we generate when we've shot or photographed a wedding, because at the minute you're the person that manages and maintains all of that. So when it comes to kind of the integrity of those files, the storage, how they're correctly archived, you know, that's all on you. Whereas going forward, for the sake of the kind of resilience of our business, because if Jules is out of action for whatever reason,
don't know what she's planning to do to me,
but you know, so it's just been really, really good for me to kind of not only now be getting involved in the podcast, which is fantastic for me, but for us to get our heads together and do this. And I hope it's something that equally you can enjoy as well. And whether that's just you yourself, you know, whether you're doing that with business partner or the people that are involved in the business, you know, it's, hopefully you'll find this helpful also. Yeah.
So that kind of wraps up this episode of the podcast. Hopefully it's been useful. Hopefully you've kind of got something from it. It might be something that you already knew about and had, maybe you've never even thought of or heard of action plans and smart action plans. And goal setting is just something that, you know, we all probably do. We all probably have ambitions and things day to day, but just actually solidifying a goal, having something to aim for, so important, and it's really going to help your business. And that's kind of why we've been talking about it. So we really hope that it's been useful for you. So what we want to do with the podcast from now, they're going to be hopefully every week. So, you know, we've kind of done this one on setting goals and the action plans, and we're hoping now to kind of go through different topics every week, which I'm hoping that this naturally goes into, if we kind of talk about in the next one, the action plan to do with finances and how many weddings, because that's something that we're going through at the moment, because we really need to know what the kind of plan is. And as things, are getting busier and we can see that months are getting full again, I certainly don't want us to be shooting, 9, 10, 11 weddings a month again like last year, because it's not enjoyable, but it's also, it's so hard, like, the backlog that we're currently dealing with. It's not a good way to run things. And so what we want to talk about is how we're going to structure things and how we're going to have targets and goals based on smart action plans, based on our goal setting, to be able to meet the revenue targets that we need to meet. Yeah. And that starts with personal finance as well as, the business finance, because there's an amount of money that you need to run your business, but there's also an amount of money you need to live. So we're going to be talking about that in the next episode, and about how we can then manage how the workload is and how many weddings we take on and other work and things like that. And then we're going to be going through pricing and other things and other topics on subsequent podcasts, which will all be hopefully really useful and really interesting to kind of go through. So thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me. It's better than me just waffling on. It's nice to have someone to chat with.
No, thank you very much. Thank you. It's been lovely to be part of this. Thank you.
Hopefully we can make it a bit more conversational. Obviously this was very task oriented, this one. Hopefully we can make it more conversational in subsequent episodes. And if you kind of enjoyed this episode and there's anybody that you think might want to, might get something from it, somebody who might want to listen or watch it, please just share this around, share it on social media, let people know about it. Follow us, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, and on social media we're on Instagram at Wedding Mavericks, Facebook and all that business, and we'll try and work out TikTok as we get things up and running. Crikey, we're seeing some dancing. So thanks a lot for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.